Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Excited to have you guys here. We'll give everyone just another minute to trickle in and then we'll get started. But excited to have you joining us. And as people join, would love for you to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're zooming in from, how old your kids are, and what made you curious to join today, so that we can make sure that everything we share is tailored to who you are and tailored to your kids and the things that are of most interest and relevance to you. We're excited to have you guys joining us. And I will do my introduction in
Hi,
just. Hi.
I'm Revati.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Same here. We live in California. My son is 13-year old. He is currently in seventh grade. He's going to go to eighth grade after the summer. I just saw the ad in Instagram and I got curious, and it is not little clear about what you guys are doing. So I thought I will understand what you're doing and how it can be helpful for my son. That's why I'm here in Zoom.
Amazing. This is the perfect place to be, the perfect place to learn more, and we're excited to share more about Curious Cardinals and who we are and what we do. And I know people will keep trickling in, but I will go ahead and do my introduction. And as I'm introducing myself and sharing more about Curious Cardinals again, would love to hear in the chat where people are zooming in from and joining us today, and how old your kids are, what maybe made you curious to join. And I'll do my introduction and then I'll start sharing my screen and we'll dive in. So I'm Jules. I started at Curious Cardinals as a mentor when I was a student at Northwestern, and now I'm on our full-time team and I support our parent community. And also on the call with me is Kaylee. She'll be speaking later on and she'll be helping me out in the chat. And she's an amazing member of our family admissions team and former educator, who is the person who you would talk to if you wanted to get started with Curious Cardinals, and we're excited to share more about who we are and what we do, and hopefully help put the pieces together so that you have a little bit more knowledge and walk away knowing a little bit more about us. So without further ado, I will share my screen and we will dive in. Feel free to ask questions in the chat throughout, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end as well. But excited to have you guys joining us and love to see lots of people from lots of places. And give me 1 second because my screen is not pulling up the window that I want to pull up. So while I do that, thank you for bearing with me. Um, okay, we're gonna try this again and hopefully Zoom will cooperate this time. Okay. So excited to share a little bit more about Curious Cardinals with all of you. Curious Cardinals is a one-on-one mentorship platform. We connect K through 12 students to college, grad student, and recent graduate mentors to work on academics and passion projects. And we'll speak about what that looks like tangibly in the coming slides. But just to give you the holistic overview of who we are and how we came to be, I'll share our founding story. So we were founded by Audrey Wish and Alec Katz in 2020 during the pandemic. They were students at Stanford and they got sent home, and Audrey started tutoring kids online, and she noticed that they were disengaged and uninspired. They were memorizing and regurgitating information for Friday's tests, but they didn't understand why any of it mattered. They weren't able to connect their learning to their interests, and so Audrey started connecting their learning to their interests. And one student asked for math help, but Audrey wasn't as passionate about math, so she called Alec, the Stanford aerospace engineer, and instead of drilling math equations, Alex showed the students how math makes airplanes fly, and that's when they realized this is how learning should work. So they started recruiting their most passionate peers from Stanford, and they took what was one relationship and have grown it. And over the past 6 years, we've been able to work with 15,000 students, and we're excited to keep growing and to share more about what that tangibly looks like in practice, what it means for us to support students. But that's a little bit of the background of how we came to be and the framework we come from. of thinking about how we can help students engage with their learning, connect their learning to their passion and their interest, and help students be engaged while developing the timeless skills needed in our AI world. So critical thinking and um, that drive and motivation that comes when you are able to connect your learning to what you're most passionate about. So that's how Curious Cardinals came to be. And for more on what Curious Cardinals actually is, we kind of have four main pillars that define who we are. The first is being the best match and connection. We are matchmakers for K through 12 students and their near peer aspirational role model who can be like an older sibling meets coach meets favorite teacher, and they are people who understand your kid. They were in their shoes not too long ago, but they also have enough subject matter expertise to be able to be a real meaningful guide. And so the way we match students is you would have a call with our team, and we'll dive into the logistics of that more. But know that on that call, we would ask a lot of questions and understand who your student is, so that we can pair them with someone. So if you come to us and you have a seventh grade girl who needs help with biology and wants to be the next NASA astronaut and likes volleyball and wants to go to Stanford, we can find the Stanford Aero student who has interned at NASA, who understands that path, and maybe they also love volleyball and Taylor Swift and they have those nodes of connection. So it's not just the subject matter expertise, it's finding the best match and connection. And that's the heart of what we do. And the way that we actually make that happen and bring that to life is having a structured and measured system where we every session starts with a check-in. A lot of our mentors use rosebud thorns, so they ask, how are things going? Not only does your student get to share how they're doing, they get to hear how a Stanford mentor is doing or a Harvard mentor. What's the Harvard kid's rosebud thorn? It's always fun for students to know. And then we have students and their mentors set SMART goals and work toward them systematically. And really what we see best is consistency that compounds, so meeting weekly. And as I said in our founding story, the heart of what we do is inspiring a love of learning for students. And what that looks like tangibly is we have two main tracks at Curious Cardinals. We have our academic mentorship track, which is kind of like tutoring, except we like to say tutoring is the T word because it has a connotation of being transactional for Friday's test. And this is about so much more than that. It's holistic. It is about connecting learning to your interests. And so, yes, we want students to do well on Friday's test, but we also want them to make meaningful strides. And I'll share that when I was a mentor, I worked with a student named Estelle when she was in middle school, and I helped her with her English class. And when we started working together, she was failing her English class. And by the time we finished working together, she had all A's in all of her classes. But the real growth wasn't just that she was doing better in her classes, it was that she learned how to advocate for herself. She learned um, what it meant to follow through and to actually do the reading. And she learned why doing the reading is important, and built those study skills and habits that matter. And then really the heart of what we do, our primary offering, is our passion project track. And within that, we have kind of four main options. The first is building a portfolio. So that's super common for our engineering students, our aspiring artists who want to work on a variety of projects. The next is our research track, which could look like publishing research in a paper. We've had students publish in a variety of journals, from Stanford's journals to the high school research journal. There's lots of options there. Or it could be presenting your poster at a conference. Another popular offering is launching an organization. So that could be a nonprofit. It could be starting a small business. It could be starting a club at school. And then last but not least, we have content creation. So if you have an aspiring blogger or podcaster, future YouTuber on your hands, we have a content creation track as well. And I'll share some examples of what passion projects have looked like and what students have done in the coming slides. But before I do that, I'll also share we have two kind of add-ons to that mentorship offering. One is executive functioning skills. So we have mentors who are trained in executive functioning support, who have access to our executive functioning curriculum, which was built by executive functioning specialists. We have mentors with ADHD who can support students with ADHD, people who have experience working with learning differences, and that's really about helping students develop time and task management skills, improving their focus and concentration, meeting deadlines, all of the good things. And then the other element of that is pathfinding. So if your student comes to us and they don't yet know what they want to do, that's totally okay. We have our passion excavation process, as we like to call it, and that helps us understand your students' strengths and their skills. And we go through and ask them a lot of questions, and I'll share a little bit of what that process looks like, and then we can help them turn that into a project. So that's a brief overview of what we do, and hopefully it gives you some scaffolding and framework that will be helpful as I share some examples of what that looks like in practice. First, I'll share our MON. We're going to start with one of our younger students. I think someone in the chat asked what age range we work with. We work with K through 12 students. Primarily, most of our students are middle and high schoolers in that 7th to 11th grade range, but this is Armand. Armand is a third grader. He's gifted and talented. He lives in the Bay Area, and Armand invented a copper bar of soap that never expires and never runs out. And he is an amazing example of someone who will likely build a portfolio of projects in the years that he works with us. His soap is currently in the production and development phase, and he is working on this soap because he wants to help bring an option to countries where water is a more scarce resource. And he is so sweet and adorable, and he's an example of what you can do at a young age. Next, I'll share Karis. Karis is a student who launched an organization. She led the development of a youth-led nonprofit where she and her middle school aged peers go into dementia care facilities and engage and play with patients, because she read research that play is really important for dementia care patients. And so she took the research that she read and is applying it to something that she cares deeply about. And she lives in Seattle and is scaling this across the Pacific Northwest right now. So that's an example of what it could look like to build out an organization. Then I'll share Sloan. Sloan is a great example of what it could mean to do research. Sloan did research on cleaning up Earth's low orbit and thinking about satellites, and she wrote a research paper that garnered attention from NASA. So she published a mission concept with NASA, and then she went to the Marshall Space Center. So Sloan is an example of doing scientific research. And then last but not least, I'll share Josh. Josh is a student who kind of did all of the different phases. Josh created an organization called Clubfoot Connect. Josh was born with clubfoot, and he realized that he had immense access to resources that he knew not everyone had, and so he wanted to create an organization that helped share those resources with families experiencing clubfoot. And through creating this organization, he had a blog, he did research, he had an internship, and now he's a student at Penn. And so that's an example of what it can look like to do a variety of things. And if you're wondering, those are all great stories, but how do you actually get there? I'll share kind of the backbone, the background that goes into all of our passion projects through the example of Rose. Rose is a great example of our magic project formula. So we take a student's interests and we think about the skills they want to develop and the way that they want to share it, and we help turn it into a project. And so Rose came to us and we asked her what she was curious about. And she had a genuine love of jewelry. She is a girly girl. She loves pink. She is very into jewelry. And her mom said, how can we take this interest and substantiate it and turn it into a meaningful project? And then we asked Rose what her superpowers are. We asked her what her strengths are and where she thrives. And Rose told us that all of her friends turn to her for advice. They want to know what she's wearing, they want to know what she's doing, and we told her that she could take that natural ability to influence and turn it into marketing and selling and develop those out as meaningful skills. But we didn't make her do it alone. We gave her Phoebe as a guide. We asked her what type of person she admired, who her role models are. We asked her what she likes about her favorite teacher, and we found Phoebe. Phoebe was the president of the fashion club at Brown. She worked for the Louis Vuitton organization in Paris, and she is someone who has the fashion expertise and business knowledge to help Rose build her business. And in her freshman year, Rose had more than $10,000 in sales, and she donates a portion of profits to a maternal health care nonprofit that's of interest to her. But really, this is just freshman year Rose. This is the beginning of her journey, and she's scaling her business. She's partnered with Love Shack Fancy. She does trunk shows. And so Rose is an example of a student who came to us with this interest in jewelry and fashion and how we turned it into helping her scale a small business. And so that's kind of the process of what it could look like to get started with Curious Cardinals. And we also love giving students something to build toward. So coming up very soon on May 9th, so this weekend, submissions are due for our Timeless Skills in an AI era pitch competition. We try to offer competitions on a regular basis, whether they're competitions that we host or encouraging our students to look elsewhere. And we have lots of students submit to Scholastic. We have mentors who specialize in competitions, whether it's ISEF or other things. And I see a question in the chat about our mentors. I will share more in just a minute. We're almost there. Next slide. But to share more about the pitch competition, it's open to all K through 12 students. And finalists get to pitch to industry-leading judges. So this year's judges are Zarna Garg, the famous Indian author and comedian, Michael Seibel, the president emeritus of Y Combinator, which is the infamous startup incubator, and then Laura Modi, the co-founder and CEO of Bobby, the formula brand that reached $100 million in revenue in its first 18 months. And it's sponsored by Google.org. So we have amazing resources and competitions like this that we like to give students an opportunity to work towards so that they have deadlines that they're building toward that we can keep them accountable to. And to share more about our mentors, they are the heart of what we do. They are what makes us different. So our mentors are the best of the best. They are the top of their class. They are Rhodes Scholars. They are D1 athletes. They are presidents of clubs and winners of awards. I'm going to share two examples, and then Kaylee shared the link in the chat to see more of our mentors. I'll share Yusuf. Yusuf is a graduate student at Columbia. He's studying biomedical engineering, and he mentors students in math and science and STEM projects. And then I'll share Cece. Cece is an example of a mentor who is a recent grad. She went to Dartmouth, and now she's an award-winning filmmaker. So imagine you're a student interested in film, wants to learn from a young filmmaker who is winning awards and can help them do the same. So that's a glimpse of who our mentors are. They are college students, recent grads, and graduate students at top universities, and we will share more about. You guys you're asking all the right questions at all the right times, so thank you for teeing me up in the chat. If you're thinking, are you sure? Who are these mentors? Are they reliable college students? Our mentors go through a very competitive application process and thorough vetting. Our mentors are truly the best of the best. They are at top universities. They are Rhodes Scholars. They are Fulbright Scholars. They are amazing people who are doing amazing things in the world and want to make a difference. And that's why they come to us and they want to connect with younger students. And then they go through onboarding and training and support with our team. Our full-time team is we have a full-time team of 12 in San Francisco, and more than half of our full-time team is former educators. We have people on our team who went to Stanford and Harvard's Graduate School of Education, learning designers, amazing people who understand the scaffolding and training and support so that our mentors have thorough onboarding and all the tools that they need so that they can do what they do best, which is inspire with and engage students with the scaffolding in place from our team. And on that note, our mentors have access to an incredible resource library that has been developed with the pros. And then they get feedback and reviews from our education team. I'll share that when I was a mentor, my favorite email to get every month was my monthly digest email. It told me what I was doing well. It told me what I could be doing better. And so that's an example of kind of what our mentorship process looks like and who our mentors are. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Kaylee to share more about how mentorship works if you wanted to get started.
Yeah, so I'm going to share a little bit more about if you were interested in mentorship, how the process would go. The first step would be to schedule a consult call with a member of our family admissions team, which I am also on. More than half of us, as Jules said, have been former educators, so love speaking with families and learning more about students. And I'm going to put the link to our to schedule a consult call in the chat if you were interested. And then if we go to the next slide. So once we match you with a mentor, which we do as an education team, we'll look at kind of what your students' goals are, what their interests are, and match them with who we believe would be the perfect mentor for them. Once we move forward with a mentor, the student and the mentor meet every week. You can schedule directly on the platform. You'll be able to see when the mentor has availability. You'll be able to communicate with them directly for scheduling if anything changes, and it's all very comprehensive on your Curious Cardinals account. You'll also get detailed notes after every session to make sure that you're kept in the loop about what your student and their mentor have been working on together. I know a lot of students, especially middle schoolers and high schoolers, when you ask how school was or how something went, they'll give you a one-word answer. So this will be a very thorough and comprehensive picture of what your student worked on with their mentor, what their goals were, and then what they're working toward for next session. You'll also get a progress report every quarter. So in addition to the personalized learning plan, you'll also get this again every quarter, every couple months, and we will reevaluate the students' goals and see if there needs to be any changes or modifications made. So we use the SMART goal kind of framework to make sure that goals are attainable and that there's an end date and that they're very structured and something that those students can work toward with their mentors. How to sign up. So here is I dropped the link in the chat if that is easier, but you can also feel free to use this QR code to speak to somebody on our family admissions team. And as Jules kind of outlined, during that call, the bulk of it would be us asking questions about your student to better get to know them and understand what drives them, what their interests are, who the perfect mentor would be for them, and then how we can set them up for success and how we can best support them through a mentorship where they have a really strong connection with their mentor. And then you would start meeting with them pretty quickly. And it's a subscription model. So we want consistency across students and their mentors and when they're meeting and so that they can make progress toward their goals. So yeah, the next step would be a call. And then I think that's it, right, Jules?
Yeah, that's it. And we'll open it up to questions. And feel free to write questions in the chat, raise your hand and ask questions live. Feel free to unmute yourself. We want this to be interactive. I will start by answering Michelle's question, and I'll let Kaylee share the information about pricing and our pricing page in the chat as well. But students and mentors, we encourage to meet weekly. We've done this for 6 years. We know that most progress comes when students meet weekly, but we do have flexible models if you would rather do 3 sessions a month or 2 sessions a month instead of 4. Our base model, our most recommended, the most popular, is doing 4 a month. It's what we've seen work best. But if that's not a possibility within your schedule, we understand and we have some flexibility built in. And if you go to our website, there's a pricing page with more information, but I know Kaylee just shared information in the chat as well. And yes, there is a trial period. There's a 2-week evaluation period. It's a paid evaluation period for you to get to know the mentor and understand if they're a good fit. And if for any reason they're not a good fit during the evaluation period or in the following months, you are welcome to reach out to our team and we will facilitate a rematch and find the mentor who is the best fit. Carolyn, what do you do if your kid goes away for the summer? You can pause a mentorship if your student is not available during the summer and they need to pause for the summer. Summer is also a really popular time for students to work on passion projects. So it's super personalized. The best part of what we do is that it's personalized. We match students one-to-one. And so they aren't confined to the schedule of school or the schedule of the school year being August to May or September to June, so they can pause as needed, and you would just denote that to our team. The average time a student works with a Curious Cardinals mentor depends on the student and it depends on your goals. I will say that most students and their mentors usually meet for at least 6 months. It can take at least 6 months to see meaningful progress and work toward a meaningful milestone. But in those 6 months, we can see a lot of progress. It depends on what your student wants to do, though. So if you have a student who wants to publish research, that takes a little bit longer than a student who might want to do a small mini project. And if you think about how much time your student can commit outside of the session, there's lots of factors that play a role. So if you have a student who can only do work during the sessions, they're going to move at a slower pace than a student who's investing time outside of sessions. So I would say most students work with their mentors for 6 to 12 months. We've had students who work with us for short-term periods. We've had students work with a mentor for 4 years throughout their high school journey. So it really depends. It also depends on the projects that your student is doing and the pivots that they make through the course of time. So there's not a one-size-fits-all answer here, but we prioritize long-term relationships, and building those long-term relationships is important to us. So when mentors accept a new engagement opportunity, they're committing to work with your student for at least 6 months.
Hi, my name is Allison Springsteen. I don't mean to cut above the people in the chat asking questions, but I just have a question, and I'm not necessarily sure if you would know the answer, but I found out about Curious Cardinals through a colleague of mine at work. She mentioned that there was a program, through Bright Horizons. Do you guys collaborate with Bright Horizons?
We do. Kaylee, do you want to share any more about the program? Kaylee might know the answer.
Yeah, I know we do partner with Bright Horizons, and we also offer a discount to families who are referred by Bright Horizons. That's
Okay.
about the extent of what I know, but we've worked with Bright Horizons families before. I literally just spoke to someone 2 weeks ago, who was a Bright Horizons referral. So definitely love collaborating with them.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I'll reach out to Bright Horizons to see how to go about, reaching out to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And let me look through these questions. Arjun, thank you for your question about matching students with opportunities. If a student wants to pursue a career in engineering, yeah, so we would match your student with an engineering student or graduate student or recent grad working in engineering, and then they can help be that guide of, here's the things I did when I was your age, here are those age appropriate projects. We definitely have mentors who can support that. And we just launched a new tool called the Flight Plan, which Kaylee can share the link for in the chat. And the Flight Plan is a tool that also does opportunity matching. So if you're interested in finding those opportunities, we have a wait list available if you'd like to join the waitlist for the Flight Plan, which does kind of more enterprise level research of opportunity matching. But just for career exploration, that's definitely something a mentor could help with. To answer the question about financial aid options, we have a financial aid program, but we only run it with partners, so it's not ad hoc. It's run through our partner organizations. So if your student is working with one of our partners, then we would love to have them join us through our financial aid program. But unfortunately, our financial aid is constrained to working with those partners for the time being. Happy to answer more questions live or in the chat if people have other additional questions.
Hi, I had a question. Do you work with kids that are not based in the U.S.?
Yes, we work with students around the world, and we have mentors around the world as well.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Hi, this is Saravana. So I was just wondering, what can you realistically achieve in a 6-month mentorship program or a 10-month mentorship program? Because it's a little hard for me to you know see what things can be done. You have shared success stories, but I want to know what could be achieved in a certain timeline.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we can either I can ask you more questions about your student live, or Kaylee can follow up with you offline. But in order to give you the specificity of the answer that you'd like, we would want to know more about who your kid is, what their goals are, what they're coming to us with, the time that they can invest in the session, outside of the session, and kind of their working knowledge and baseline. And that's where we would understand what could be accomplished in 6 months. Students have been able to do amazing things in 6 to 12 months. Some things take time. So it just really depends on the student and how much they can invest. And I can't give I would want to give you a personalized answer. And so if you want to share more about your student life, happy to do that, or happy to
Sure.
follow up offline.
Yeah. So my son is a published author. So he has written two books on on the space theme. So he's interested a lot in science fiction, writing science fiction books. He's interested in the space. He also interested in becoming an entrepreneur, and he loves science very much. He loves it very much, more than other subjects. So that's the quick background of my son.
Love it. So impressive. And does he have a lot of time, or is he sounds like he's probably pretty busy.
Yeah, so he's pretty busy. So he has been publishing books the past 2 summers. So yeah, it's on Amazon. But we would like to see where to go from here. That's where we are little maybe clueless, or we don't know how to take it forward.
Got it. I'm going to share really quick, and then I'll answer live, but I'm going to share in the chat the link to a newsletter our CEO wrote about a student and his timeline of publishing research in a Stanford journal, and hopefully this gives you a sense of um, what it took for him to publish research in a journal. But it is super specific to each kid. It sounds like you have a super motivated kid, though, and if he's tapped into the right thing, he can find time and do the thing that interests him. But certain things, like if you wanted to publish research, take more time because you have to go through the process of picking a research question and then doing the literary review and then developing out the research. And then when you go to submit to journals, they have their own timeline as well. And so it just depends on your student. But it sounds like you have a super impressive student, and we will
Yeah.
follow up more.
So the challenge is he likes to do many things, not just what I said, but
Yeah.
he's interested in building things, robotics. Um, yeah. So through this mentorship program, would the mentors be directing them to take certain other programs to um, improve their skill set, or how is it going to be?
Yeah, I think our mentors can certainly help if you're looking for other programs, and I think you would probably really like the flight plan. So if you want to join the waitlist for that, I know Kaylee sent the link in the chat. Um, but um, broadly speaking, we would find a mentor. So someone like Kaylee would ask a lot of questions about your student and think about who might be a good fit. And so maybe you will find someone who has the science interest and has the engineering interest and the robotics interest, and find someone who can help work on something. But our mentors are best suited to help with a specific project, with a specific goal. That's where we see best success. And so if there's it would probably be best to do like one specific thing.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like a follow-up call is needed. Yeah.
Yeah, probably best. Just so that Kaylee or someone on our team can dive in deeper with you than I can, and then they can make a lot more specific recommendations.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah. I'll next answer a question in the chat about developing a strong college application. The flight plan is our new college planning resource, but prior to the flight plan, we have been working with students on the college admissions and college application process for years. If you go to our Instagram, which is Curious Cardinals on Instagram, and I'll pull up the link and put that in the chat as well, we share where our students are going to college and some of the success stories. And so I will share the link to the post celebrating our Curious grads for this year, and you can see where these students have gone and the way that we've supported them in their college journeys has varied from helping them build out the substance of their college application, which is what's on your activity sheet, and being an activity on their activity sheet of whatever their passion project is. We've helped students with the writing portion of their applications and actually like building out what their tangible application is. But we support students in a variety of ways. Really, the heart of what we do, though, is helping students do specific things. So I'll share Silver is an example of a student on the Instagram post, and Silver is a student who is headed to Cornell next year, and she's worked with us for a few years. And in her work with us, she created this thing called the Fire Initiative. It's a wildfire safety tool, and she worked with her mentor to build out this incredible resource, and this AI chatbot that helps you think about if your house is fire safe or not is something that was really important to her as being a Californian. And I'm sharing a video of her speaking about her work also in the chat. But she did this fire project with us, and her mentor helped guide her through the process of working on that project. And then she gave a TEDx talk about the work that she's done. She's a super impressive student, and her mentor has helped her apply to awards like the Diller Awards. Her mentor has helped her with her college application process and going through every stage of that journey with her. So that's kind of an example of what it could look like to use Curious Cardinals to help supplement your college application. Next question in the chat, is it an option for students to select the mentor themselves? Right now, our family admissions team knows our mentor base better than anyone else, and so our family admissions team and our education team work together to take everything that you share about your child and everything that we know about our mentors to make a mentor match recommendation. And so they'll share the person who we think is the best fit, and that's the way that we currently go through the matching process. And I will share the link to join future virtual events in the chat, and we'll also share the recording of this in a follow-up. So give me 1 second and I will share our calendar. We would love to have you at a future event. These generally happen every week or every other week, so we're here often. The most frequent student age, the most common is 7th to 11th graders. We support K through 12 students, but as Kaylee just said in the chat, most of them are in middle and high school. Any other questions we can answer before we go?
So sorry, it's me again, Saravana.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So this connection that we make between the student and the mentor, uh, does it go beyond the mentorship program, or is it just only during the mentorship program? How does it work?
Yeah, it depends on the student and the mentor, but I'll speak as a former mentor myself. A lot of our mentors care super deeply about developing and maintaining relationships with their students, and so I'm still in touch with my former mentees. A girl who I helped with her Northwestern application. I went to Northwestern, and she is now a student at Northwestern. Funnily enough, is in the same sorority that I was in at Northwestern, and we keep in touch. So I text her every once in a while, and I check in, and I hear about how her journey at Northwestern is going. And I do that for a lot of my students. I've gotten to meet former students. One of my former students is a student at Stanford, and we're based in the Bay Area as a company, and so I've gotten to meet him in person and maintain those relationships over time. But it depends on the mentor and the student and the relationship that they develop. Any other questions I can answer? If not, Kaylee and I will stay on for another minute, but she shared the link to book a call in the chat if you're interested. That really is the best way for us to get to know your students specifically. Hopefully this helped give you an overview of Curious Cardinals and who we are and what we do, but if you want to dive in deeper and find the right mentor for your student, would love for you to book a call and speak to our family admissions team. And they'll be able to help you in a more personalized way. Okay. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.